So the Inevitable Policy Response, or IPR, is some work that we commission and it's really about climate transition forecasting. So we produce it really to prepare institutional investors for portfolio risks and opportunities driven by policy responses to climate change, as policy will and must change if we're to reach net zero by 2050. So it really forecasts, as you said, that an acceleration and intensification of government action will be needed to take place without further delay, ideally at COP in Glasgow, in order to reach 1.5 by 2050. We also, of course, need strong 2030 commitments, but the period up to 2025 needs to be one of policy acceleration, because at the same time climate impacts are increasing, and this really means that there's potential volatility in many sectors, and investors really need to be acting now, which is our message, really to prepare for the markets of the future, because 2030 is barely 9 years away, and the climate impacts on global and domestic economics, trade and markets are only going to continue to grow, and this has got huge implications for capital markets. So to reach 1.5 degrees, our research says that we need to say in the world that we have an immediate policy action, particularly in power, transport and food and land use systems, and that they really need to be supported by extensions of carbon pricing schemes further to, into real economy activities. So within the power sector, we're saying that it must decarbonise rapidly, and this means cutting coal and gas out of the system, with the global retirement of unabated coal generation by 2035. We need transitioning to 100% clean power globally by 2045, including China, clean power in transport, buildings and industry. The land use sector is next. We need to end deforestation and land clearing by 2025, full stop. And we need to see a start of large-scale global and regional reforestation investment programs. We need an extensive carbon pricing schemes at different levels for emerging economies to developed economies. That's got a vital role to play. In transport, we need the electrification of all forms of transport and transport infrastructure, phasing out the internal combustion engine vehicles, phasing in electric cars and electrification of rail and transport. And in agriculture, especially food system, there needs to be a range of changes, and we need to more closely integrate carbon pricing with agriculture, shift away from animal proteins and make more space for nature-based solutions. And in the forecast, we really see that things like peak meat consumption by 2030 and land use becoming net carbon sink. So a lot needs to happen in a relatively short space of time if we've got any hope of getting to 1.5 degrees.